Hey everybody, it's Tuesday. You know what that means? 12 noon. It's time for Building Wins Live. I'm Randy, your host, and looking forward to some good chat today with a longtime buddy of mine, Sam Hostetler with Stillwater Metals. You're going to love this guy's story. So hold on, we'll be right back with Sam. Mr. Hostetler, how are you, sir?
Hey, Randy. How's it going?
Good, man. Doing well. You?
Pretty good. Enjoying this beautiful Ohio weather. You know,
What's going on there?
It's a nice day today. Finally warming up. Our snow's leaving us.
Good.
Beautiful weather. So
good.
Hopefully guys will get back on the roofs.
Yeah, exactly. Because you guys got buried for a little bit, didn't you?
Yes. We've had more snow on the ground for a longer period of time than we probably have in a long time.
Really?
Many years.
Wow.
So kind of enjoyed it for a little bit, but I think we're ready to get back out of it and go to work.
Get to work, exactly. Well,
yes.
I think it's time to get to work. So, so for our viewers, you know, Sam and I go way back. In a second, I'm going to let you do a short introduction to yourself. But just wanted to let everybody know that you and I go back, what, 7, 8 years now? What is it now?
2007 or 2008 somewhere.
Okay, so it's longer than we think. So we'll get into that story in a minute of how we met. But before we start, take 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever you need. And who is Sam Hostetler? You know, tell the folks who you are, who Stillwater Metals is, anything you want to just let's introduce yourself a bit.
That's a good question.
We wonder that often.
Right. So first off, I'm a husband to a wonderful wife and a father to a beautiful boy. 3 years going on 4. So we started Stillwater Metal 3 years ago. We started building the building in the middle of the winter when it was cold, very cold.
Very cold.
Yes. So we've got it up and running. We're in kind of the middle of the Ohio region. So we cover basically a pretty broad area of kind of the northwest part of Ohio.
Yeah, so you're in Kenton, correct? Kenton, Ohio, right?
Yes, Kenton, Ohio. Yep, just south of Columbus, about an hour. And we basically offer the metal roofing, siding products, basically everything that goes with a house roof to a pole barn, and everything in between. So it's kind of been my thing for quite a few years now. I've always enjoyed doing this. I don't know why some days, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah. One quick correction, only because I want to make sure anybody watching, I know you mentioned south of Columbus. I think you meant south of Toledo.
Yes. Sorry, I went the wrong way.
You went the wrong way.
We're south of that awful state up north.
Yeah, well,
get it that way.
That's what I knew what you was probably thinking. I wasn't going to go there.
I had to throw that out there for you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. So how's the weather in Florida?
It's beautiful. It's about, feels like probably 87, 88 right now, about 84 out.
Yeah, probably shouldn't ask that question.
Yeah, I can send you pictures later if you want, but it's pretty glorious. It's pretty glorious out. So,
yeah.
So do you remember the day? I know you do. You remember the day that we met? Because
I think I do.
Yeah. So we met when you were with your dad's business, Hostetler Metals, which was in Mount Victory, Ohio, just down the road from you guys. What, 7, 8 miles, I think.
Yep.
And I remember. I don't remember if I found you guys or you found me, but one way or the other. We were going to get together and chat about this new roll farm operation that you guys were going to do.
Yep.
And I remember showing up on the farm out there, and all you guys are standing out there is about 9,000 below zero, and
it's pretty cold.
It was cold, and you hadn't even got the building built yet. You had poles stuck in the ground, and they were sticking in every direction, and we kept standing outside talking, and I kept thinking, sooner or later, you guys are surely going to invite me inside. But you never did. Just so you know, you never did. But so that's the first time that I met you, and you were a reasonably young guy at the time. And
yeah, I would have probably been 18 or 19 at the time.
Right. And
it's been a few years.
Yeah, it's been a few years. So talk talk to me a minute about that start, and we'll move into Stillwater and what you're doing and what you're seeing. But I think it's the important start, because a lot of what I like to cover in Building Wins Live is I like people's stories. I think people like stories.
Yeah.
They like to understand how things started, how things transition. And an important factor with Sam Hostetler is that you were born Amish, and your folks are, and a couple of your brothers too, I think, right, are still Amish. They're very good friends of mine. Your dad and your brothers are very good friends of mine and excellent customers. They're up in Michigan now. And so that's where you and I first met. And yes, this was this was before you got married. And you and I used to do all the ordering together of products. And so how did that prepare you? Because I've worked with the plain folk, if you will, Amish and Mennonite community my whole life. And so I'm very familiar, but some folks may not be, and not asking to get in too far into things, but there's a work ethic.
Yes.
That's massively different than us Englishers would have typically. And how did that prepare you for what you're doing now?
So, going back to the day where we met, we really had no idea what we were getting into, but we had a dream, and we were willing to do whatever it takes to get there. We learned a lot of things along the way, a lot of it the hard way, which we tend to kind of work it that way. But yeah, I mean, it was a great way of growing up. The way that I grew up, it taught me the work ethic side. I mean, and my dad was a very smart man, so he taught me a lot of the business side of things. But yeah, since I did, a lot of the ordering and the office part of the stuff back then, and I kind of missed that ever since, because after I had left the Amish, I started a roofing company. So I had a roofing company for 6 years before my dad moved out. So that's when we started the Stillwater Metal. But yeah, I always kind of missed that part of it. I always enjoyed the metal. And I think the biggest thing is all the contractors and customers we get to work with, that interaction, 90% of them are good friends of mine. And you establish a lot of good relationships over the years, with people from all over the place. Right. Like you're sitting in Florida, and we go way back. But no, I mean, it was a great way. And I think it teaches you a whole different level of things. I was taught to do basically, whatever it takes to get where we kind of want to go, as far as, you work till you're done for the day. So it does teach you a good work ethic, and Dad was smart, and taught me the business side of things as well. So,
right, because he started out as a harness. He had a harness shop, right?
Buggy shop. So we built buggies for years. So we've always kind of been around it, because he built the buggies and he sold machinery parts and everything in between. So we've always kind of had to shop and interaction with customers and that type of stuff. So I guess I've been around that my whole life and kind of got to grow up with that.
You said something a minute ago. I made a note that I thought was very, very interesting, and I think it plays to everybody that's in business or of any type, is you had that dream one day, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it started, right? It was just like, you know what? Let's roll farm metal. Yeah. I mean, that's how it had to start, right? So one of you guys.
And I don't think we ever imagined it really going where it did. But, we knew that it was possible. We have an uncle and aunt in Michigan is kind of where we got the idea from. And like I said, we learned a lot along the way. We were pretty new to, as far as the different steel products, all the different types of stuff. So, we did have some issues over the years, but everybody has that. And I think the biggest thing is how you handle them issues when you do have them, is what kind of defines you. And Dad was always very good at that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, he built a very, very big customer base and a very loyal customer base in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So relationships and being a people person is, it's I think it's transcends all businesses really, or should,
Yep.
but especially in our little
Yes.
niche of the world, right?
Yep. Relationships are the key.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly. So once your dad and brothers moved up to Michigan, beautiful spot up there in Hartford, little southwest corner of the state. What's the time frame there? Because I know you got with Steve and you guys put together Stillwater Metals, and so you was out of the metal business for a little bit, and they decided you had to get back, and the draw was just too strong, wasn't it?
Yes. So basically, when I first found out through a friend of mine that Dad's even thinking about moving, that was probably a year. There's probably a year's time, before, as he was going through the planning phases and stuff. But me and my brothers had talked about the possibility, with him moving, and I didn't know if it was possible to do something like this or not. And Steve was a good kind of guy that I'd known for many years and had built a very successful business, in the past. And we go way back, and I've always liked Steve. So I'd approached Steve and talked about it, and then it just kind of went from there. But we probably had about a 8-month window before we started building. And then the building drug on a little bit longer than we had initially planned, because I think we were pushed back a little bit. I think the building took us about 8 months. So it's probably a year and a half overall from the time that we at first started discussing it, before we actually had it up and running. So it was quite the experience, because, we started building the building the end of January. And I think that was probably one of our harsher winters, or it felt like it, when we were putting the roof on and stuff. But we were fortunate enough to get it done, and then just to get all the inspections passed and that type of stuff. I think it was October when we officially opened. Something in that ballpark.
You had an open house. You had a ribbon cutting, right?
Yes. I should probably remember that date, but I actually don't. It's been quite a few years since then. So
I remember the ribbon. Yeah. I remember the ribbon cutting because I managed to sneak myself into the picture.
Yep. Yes, I remember that. But it was a good time. So we've had a very good last couple of years, and definitely doing well. This past year kind of threw a wrench in everything, and we weren't sure how everything's going to go, but we've been very fortunate. People are building more so every day, so it just continues to grow as we pick up more customers.
So and I guess some of these questions are funny when I chat with people that I know that are friends, and that it's interesting, because I feel like a trial attorney that's asking his client something that he already knows the answer to.
But yes, Ohio State's going to beat Michigan again.
I think you just lost in basketball, because we are a basketball school now, so.
Basketball doesn't count. I don't watch basketball.
Oh boy. But you're right. You probably will.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's, I kind of classify roll formers as there's two types, right? There's wholesale roll formers, and there's what I guess I'd call a retail roll former, right?
Yes.
Where does Stillwater's fall into that?
So we do some of both, and it's a tough spot. I love working with the lumber yards, but I also I guess I like that interaction with the customers. Mm-hmm. And wholesale is very, very tough. It can be very challenging at times. So I think with the retail, you have a lot more possibilities in that way. You can build that relationship with your contractors, better serve them, in my opinion, or we can control how they get served a little bit better. We do have good relationships with a couple of lumber yards that we sell to wholesale, and them are very good as well. But you just get a little more interaction when you're dealing directly with the contractor and the person. There's a little bit more work that goes into that,
right,
from that type of aspect, because you got to help them figure it out. But I've always liked that interaction type, I guess.
Yeah.
The wife doesn't like going to the grocery store with me because I usually get lost talking to people.
Talking to people. Well,
yes.
And you go buy the Hostess Ho-Hos or something and throw them in your car, right? Or
yes.
something.
That too. That too.
I have a tendency to do that. I try to sneak them. The key though is you got to sneak them in under the stuff, so by the time you're at the checkout, she may not see them go on.
Yeah.
But I have a little secret for you. Way off subject, but that made me think of it. If you go to the store for your wife and you decide that you're going to buy a Snickers bar to eat before you get home, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to have them. Throwing the wrapper away is only part of the deal. You got to make sure you get rid of the little receipt that they give you, because if you leave it in the bag, and then
so you got to do that in a separate checkout, so it's not on your.
Looking through, and she goes, "So Snickers bar, huh?" Deer in the headlight look, right? So that just a little public service announcement there.
You bought that for a little kid behind you in the line.
That's what I should have said. I just bought it for this little guy, cute little dude, and
right.
The more you know. There it is. The more you know.
Yep.
So
there you go.
So we had a couple of guys, a friend of yours and mine. I just wanted to give him a shout out. Laverne Zook just popped on a few minutes ago. He says, "Hey, Sam, the man."
Yep. Me and Laverne go back a few years. Laverne is a very smart man.
Yes. I've been following Laverne just recently. He's been doing a FaceTime or Facebook.
I've seen them. I've been watching them some.
Every day.
Pretty good. Yeah, I need to do some more of that type of stuff.
I'm sorry?
I said I need to do some more of that type of stuff. I just
it's a good thing, and that might bring us in a second. But there's another guy at Wes, if you can. There's another guy that popped on that I didn't know his name, but I just wanted to give him credit. Somebody shouted out to you. If Wes finds that in a minute, he'll pop it back up there. Somebody you might know. Yeah, there it is. Sam the Legend. Okay, that can't be. That can't be for you.
That's got to be for you. I think he misspoke there.
He must have. Yeah. Well, Randy Arnold. There's another Rusty Arnold. So you got fans, buddy. You got fans.
Yeah, feeling kind of famous here.
Yeah, exactly. You should be. So 2020, you kind of touched on that, but and there's a part of me that I'm going to get about 6 months into 21, and then I'm going to probably lose the let's talk about 2020 at all, because I'm a big look forward. Windshield is 100 times bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason, right? Yep. But with that said, I think I know I have learned so much coming out of 2020, and I'd really be interested in knowing. Obviously, it was a good year for you because our industry, we're blessed, was a very good year.
Yes.
With that, but what did you learn about 2020, and what adjustments did you make going into 2021 to be more prepared, as we are sort of still in this, but it just seems like we're kind of working our way into some more normalcy, right?
So throughout 2020, I stayed pretty busy with just trying to keep up with everything and stay on top of everything, because we had a very busy year. We were very fortunate in that aspect because, well, I guess coming into March, right after they had done the first shutdown, everything kind of died. And then April, it started picking up. It felt really busy, but it was a lot of small stuff. A lot of guys, putting a roof on their patio because they were stuck at home and that type of stuff. But later in the year, it just got super busy and just trying to keep up with everything, keep the flow going and that type of stuff. But I think the biggest thing, and I forget who I gotten this from, was kind of tuning out all the other stuff, but focus on the controllables instead of the uncontrollables. I mean, it's really easy to get sidetracked on just with everything going on. And then you do that, you consume yourself, and instead of looking at things that you could actually be progressing on, you're too consumed with that type of stuff. So, just stuff that I've been working on, trying to improve, trying to stay off of the Facebook a little bit more and that type of stuff with everything out there. But as the company, we've tried to shift and do make everything more accessible, I guess, virtual or, online, that type of stuff, which we have a long ways to go with that. So it's kind of tough, being our second full year, we were really busy and to try and adapt and make the changes and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot going on. We still have a long ways to go. After the snow hit here a couple of weeks ago, things kind of quieted down. So we've been working on a lot of that type of stuff to make it, I guess, make stuff more available online to keep that, in case we would need to address something like that again. But yeah, it taught us a lot of things. And then the last 4 months, supply chain issues. And that's I guess you can always learn on that, because I mean, we've never seen anything quite like that, but we've seen a lot of things, over the years. But yeah, I mean, stuff's getting a little bit tough to get. We were fortunate enough that it didn't get to that until about November. And then just after that, it got a little bit tough. We were pretty fortunate on most of ours. Our suppliers took pretty good care of us. So it wasn't too bad, but it's just stuff that you keep in mind going into the future, that you kind of got to prepare for.
Yeah.
And make sure you have what you need when you need it. Because like Dad always said, you can't sell what you don't have on a shelf.
Yeah, exactly. And in 2020 was especially going into 2021, that was a challenge as a supplier that supplies like guys like yourselves. We all got hit.
Yeah.
Almost simultaneously, right? It was like that perfect storm of price increases and supply issues and the backlogs got out, and it's hard to catch up when you don't get any breathing room, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you saw that with metal. We had the same thing with a lot of my manufacturers that I'm blessed to do business with you. Is if you can't stay caught up, you can't get caught up, right? You just keep going further behind sometimes.
Yeah, January was actually one of our busiest months yet, which is crazy because normally January starts, winding down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Everybody can kind of get caught back up again, but it didn't stop for us until like the 1st of February when we got the first snow and people couldn't get back on the roofs again, which was kind of a blessing because we got a little bit of a break there. But I mean, we enjoy being busy as well. It helps helps keep us out of trouble a little bit.
True enough. So do you see, I mean, as soon as the weather breaks,
yes,
you're ready to get busy, right?
Yeah, all of the contractors most of our contractors are booked out. I mean, they have 6 months worth of work on their books. So there's a lot of work on the books already. So as soon as the weather breaks, I think it's gonna. I mean, and it's always a little more hit and miss this time of the year, just because of the weather.
Right.
And in Ohio, you don't know from day to day. I mean, and we have a lot of high winds and that type of stuff. So. Besides that, I mean, these guys are ready to go. So as soon as the weather allows them, they're going to be right back at it.
Sure.
But there's still a lot of work out there.
A lot of work, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of work still that didn't get done in the fall or winter.
Yes.
And now you're also getting a lot of new quotes, new bids. Is that accurate or?
Yes. No, there's still a lot of new stuff going out. There's still a lot of stuff that, basically, like you said, didn't get done in the fall. And now you get to deal with, price increases. And so it makes it a little bit challenging, with everything, we're basically fighting what the lumber guys fought
right
6 months ago.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But no, it's the same thing over again. So it kind of makes it a little challenging for the stuff that they didn't get done back in the fall. But yeah, there's still a lot of new stuff coming up as well. I'm really surprised at the amount of like new homes, new barns. I mean, people are still building, so it's a good sign.
It is.
Yep.
And we hit up, like, again, to use the phrase again, I guess, but a perfect storm, I guess, in a negative way. But historically, if lumber goes crazy, right, steel maybe is not, or vice versa.
Yeah.
we just hit this. Both of them went nuts at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And so is there how much pushback are you getting from people yet, or aren't you, as far as, I'm going to still buy, but boy, it's getting close, right? Is that a concern?
You do. I mean, we are getting some pushback to some level, but overall, it's not as bad as you would think it would be. I mean, people realize pretty much everything across the board is going up. I think it's a little bit better than it was when the lumber guys were fighting it, because it was mainly just lumber,
right?
And they couldn't get it. So, I mean, we are getting some pushback the more it continues to climb, but I mean, overall, it's not as bad as you would think. I don't know. You just hate to continue to raise prices, but
Right.
it doesn't let you do anything but that with prices increasing.
But you can't operate in a loss either, or
no.
And I would think that the biggest pushback would start. Let me reverse that. How are you being forced or to honor prices? How long are you doing that? I guess how long are you honoring prices with your guys?
So we were still basically working on a 30-day basis up until, but I've just been telling everybody, as I quote them, because we kind of have our price increases scheduled. Our coil supplier was very good to work with as far as on that, and they kind of have us, a month out. So we have our increases already kind of planned out. So I'm basically just honoring them to the next increase. I mean, you'll always get some projects where you're going to have to honor the pricing on it. But besides that, it hasn't been too bad.
Yeah.
But just fighting the constant. And then, we priced a lot of stuff, and there was snow on the ground majority of the time, so nobody wants steel. So everybody wants to pay for their steel. And so it's fighting that whole thing, because you got to be careful. You can't sell too much.
Right.
Or you can't sell something that you don't have and pay more.
Exactly.
So it's just been, trying to keep up with everything.
Yeah. Well, I would think too that there's two types of scenarios there, right? There's the quote that's been out for a while.
Yes.
To deal with, but it's all point in time too, I suppose, with increases. You and I do what we do. We live through these, right? Yeah. But a homeowner that decides 2 months ago, you know what, I need a roof. Yep. And he gets a price on a roof and it's $12,000. Well, when he finally wanders back in to do something 2 months later, maybe it went up to $12,900. I don't know what the number is. So it's not, he's not relating that to the last 5 or 6 increases, right? No. He's only looking at it from the point he got his quote 30 or 60 days ago. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is, and most of your bigger contractors already do this, on their quotes, that they only honor, to a certain point in time as far as like material increases. But there's also, so I've been trying to work with because there's a lot of them that don't necessarily do that. And I have a few that I know that are going to try and honor that price just because they gave that price. But so I've been trying to work with them and kind of make them aware, to keep this ahead so that they know. Because, I mean, there has been a pretty good price change as far as on a house roof, even though it's not as much as you would think at some point in time, because people think 20 cents a foot on metal makes a big difference. And it does. But on the average house roof, 20 cents a foot amounts to $200.
Right.
It's not as much as you would think. Everybody just focuses on that per foot price.
Well, exactly, because it's not, and the metal still is only a part of the labor, still the labor. Yes. The other items, if they aren't going up, vent material,
labor and all your accessories and that type of stuff, which, I mean, accessories and all that's going up now too. Because they said they had to increase your salary a little bit.
Well, they did. Yes. Well worth it. So,
yeah.
Well, good. So I know we didn't talk pre-show, but what's your time? Because I like to try to get these wrapped up in about 30 minutes. If we come back for a little added wins for 10, 15 minutes, I got a couple more questions. Do you have time to hang out, do a recorded version for maybe 10, 15?
Yep. No, I'm
Okay.
good for that.
Perfect. But before we leave the live, first I want to thank you for coming on. It goes
Thanks for
fast.
having me.
It goes fast, but
Yep.
you got a unique perspective on that you bring to the table, and I think folks will enjoy as they do the replay and watch the show. So I thank you for all you do, and I thank you for being on today. Before we get on out of here on the live, any last thing you want to that we didn't touch on, or we can touch on it later in a couple minutes, but anything that you might want to get while we're still here?
I think the biggest thing, like I had touched on earlier, and I think that's helped me a lot in the past, is that focusing on the controllables.
Yep, I like
And I think we let it consume us a little bit. So, think about it. You do it without thinking about it. But I think that was my biggest thing that I've learned over the summer that's helped me the most, because we let it control our emotions and all that type of stuff. So
Got it.
it can
Thanks
be.
for coming on, Barry. I'll tell you what. So what we'll do is I'm gonna have Wes pop you back into the green room for a minute. We'll get on out of here and just hang in there, and we'll do a little recorded version for maybe 10, 15 minutes, whatever we need. Yep. We don't need to go longer than we need to, but I think there's a couple things that I wrote down that I wanted to bring up, and Wes may have something. He always pops up with something brilliant now and then. He is more than just a handsome man. So, anyways, Sam, thank you, Sam.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely welcome. We'll see you in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. There you are, folks. The man, the legend, as somebody said, of beautiful Mount Victory, Kenton, Ohio area. Hey, Paul Hickey. Glad that popped on, because next week on Tuesday, Building Wins Live, 12 noon Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. The man that just said hi on there, Paul Hickey. You're going to love Paul. Paul is there he is. Paul is a former professional punter, which means I'm going to be nice to him, because I have a friend of mine that is known to threaten to throat punch us if we get out of line. Paul will just kick our head into the next county. So, but Paul, you're going to enjoy Paul's story, not only as a professional athlete and how that prepared him for life, but it also prepared him for something he's pretty passionate about, as a major challenge in his life, and how he came back from that from a health standpoint. And the guy's majorly inspiring, and you're going to love both his professional sports story, but you're going to love, probably even more so, is the inspiring comeback, if you will. So that's next week. Building Wins Live, 12 Eastern, noon, and Facebook and YouTube. I said that, but I'll say it again. Anyways, that's it for the day. I want to thank you for stopping in. Share it out. Do the replays. Love the fact that we get people popping on and saying good stuff, and just keep coming back. So for now, remember, you get one to go around. So live it, love it, and own it, and make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, y'all.